Go live on YouTube. What's up, Thias? I see you up in here as well. Hey, DJ, can you hear me?
My bad. I'm chewing on some food, but my mic check HD.
No. Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Shout out to you guys coming up.
I would say maybe wait another 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes so I can finish sharing the YouTube. Then start it up. All right.
Well, I already started up. I was just checking. Yeah, because I got to try to start a few minutes early because we've been having these connection issues and stuff. So I've been starting sometimes a couple minutes, just about 7:58, just to make sure the connection is fine. Because I've had to the past few weeks at times have to restart the whole space up. So I just want to make sure that the actual connection issues are okay. What's going on with everybody coming up in the space as well, too, guys? We're going to be discussing the situation. We're going to be talking about former president of the NAACP, Benjamin Chavis, and his remarks that he wants people to stop lynching President Joe Biden. I'm going to be honest, I never knew that Joe Biden was being lynched. I found those words that Benjamin Chavis wrote to be very strange. Very strange. Now, if you're talking about criticism of the man's poor debate, hey, people are entitled to their opinion, but to sit up here and say that he's being lynched, a man who is the president of the United States, who's been in Congress for 50-some years. I like to know exactly how he's being lynched. He's been criticized. He's been made fun of. He's been poked fun at. People had their doubts about his ability to lead and his cognitive resolution at this point in time. But I don't see exactly how we can sit up here and say that he's being lynched. So definitely. I had this article from a few days ago. I went ahead and I tweeted it out, and I wanted to hold a conversation on that just to get everybody's opinion on the wording. I know, we know back in the day, Benjamin Chavis, he was the president of the NAACP. I remember in the 90s, I'm not exactly sure. It was some kind of controversy why he left. I can't exactly remember why now. It's been so long. You probably tell about close to 30 years ago, at least well over 25 years ago. So not entirely sure why he left, but I'm going to share this article tonight where he's talking about the actual shout out to Avenge Your Ancestors as well too. What's up to you, Avenge Your Ancestors over there on YouTube? When people coming into YouTube, guys, we're discussing the situation with the former president of the NAACP, Benjamin Chavis. Of course, you guys know we've had several spaces on the NAACP. New president Derek Johnson, and some of the wording that he said months ago when he was talking about basically Black Americans were almost like immigrants because they moved in certain parts of the country as well too. So once again, this discussion is going to center around, even though he's not the current president, I don't believe he's also a member of the NAACP. It's going to revolve around somebody that was in the organization who still has some political ties as well too. In the article, he doesn't hide the fact that he's still a strong supporter of the Democratic Party. Which is no surprise. He's a big time backer of Joe Biden, which is no surprise, because the only way he could be to come up with a title about lynching, you'd have to be a diehard Joe Biden supporter. So we're gonna get into that tonight, man, and we're gonna I got FAA says Ben Chavis has been a rider for the Black community. Well, if you've been a rider for a Black community, don't sit up here talking about that this president sitting in the White House, a man that was that was pro-segregation, is being lynched, because Joe Biden is not being lynched by anybody. People are making fun of Joe Biden. People made fun of Donald Trump, and that also in that Geezer Bowl debate that they had as well too. So nobody's lynching Joe Biden. Joe Biden hasn't been lynched. I'm sure most of the people nobody in his family's been lynched as well too. So the wording was very strange that Ben Chavis came up with, to say the least. He could have put his words better if he wanted to go ahead and defend Joe Biden. Hey, that's his opinion. That's his prerogative to go ahead and do that. No problem. But don't sit up here and say that the man is being lynched when all people are doing. They can see somebody up here that's struggling in front of millions of people on television, stumbling his words. You could barely hear him at a whisper. He looks completely past his prime and everything else. No way in the world was this man being lynched right here. Absolutely no way. He got made fun of, same as the other guy, and he deserves to be made fun of. He was struggling up there. He's too old him and Trump really too old to be up here running for president. That's why you need to start having age restrictions and age limits and term limits and all this other stuff as well too. Two guys, this man will be 80, almost 86, 85, 86 if he left office, if he was reelected again. I mean, hell, what's to stop him from having a 90-year-old man up here babbling away as a president of the United States? I mean, to be personally at the 65, you need to go ahead and start getting some younger blood up in there. So yeah, nobody was lynching him, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share that as well too. Shout out to Silva coming up in here, guys. Definitely go ahead and retweet the space out for me. Definitely go ahead and retweet the space out. Savai, so you already tweeted out as well too. So shout out to you, tweeted out. We're going to be getting it in. Last night we had a very interesting conversation. We were talking about Jasmine Crockett. We talked about Ryan Garcia and his racist tirade. We also spoke about Stephen A. Smith and the blowback that he faced from the whole situation about O.J. Simpson at the BET Awards. ARE Radio says they're always trying to undermine our struggles. You know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump up in this thing as well too, guys. I was just waiting for some of our people. Shout out to our people that are coming in, both YouTube and coming into the actual space. If you're on the space, definitely go ahead and retweet it out here on Twitter or X or whatever the heck you want to call it. And if you're on YouTube, guys, make sure you go ahead and share this. Like it, comment. If you're going to listen to this, if you haven't been on the Newstoter platform or the actual podcast / broadcast, definitely go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also visit newstoter.com to stay up to date on breaking Black news in Black America. Once again, visit newstoter.com to stay up to date on breaking Black news in Black America. Matter of fact, the article that I'm going to read tonight comes from one of our curation partners, the Tennessee Tribune. We went ahead and that's going to be the actual focal point for the actual discussion tonight. The actual topic about Ben Chavis and his wording and about Joe Biden and lynching and basically it's also to drum up support, to go ahead and get people to go out there. And he mentions it several times and he's in the actual article as well too, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and share that. And let me go ahead and get to that article real quick. DJ, can you hear me? Because I'm going to go ahead and because I don't have the actual article on hand. So I'm going to actually go to the website. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick, guys. Read this real quick so you guys can get an idea exactly Ben Chavis, his whole mindset. It's up in the Jumbotron. It's also, if you're on YouTube, it's also in the description. Stop the lynching of President Joe Biden by the Reverend Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. There are moments in life when the convictions of the spirit and personal consciousness collide in opposition to the mainstream popular outcries for the blood, life, and the end of the future existence of another human being. I refuse to be silent witness to another lynching in America. Thus, the following is what I've observed and witnessed firsthand over the past days to the lynch mob-like escalation of calls for President Joe Biden to step down from campaigning for re-election in 2024. I'm not representing any organization or political party. On the 4th of July, 2024, while sitting quietly in Raleigh, North Carolina, I jotted down my personal views. Although I'm a proud Democrat, I am so saddened by the backstabbing cowardice of those who dare to publicly call for President Joe Biden to step down while having an utter contradictory refusal to utter publicly any call for former President Donald Trump to step down and end his fascist engaging campaign to retake the White House. The question is why? The attempted political lynching of President Joe Biden has more to do with disingenuous political infighting than difficulties at nationally televised political debate. What are the real motives for all those who are calling for the President Biden to step down? Some will say that my words and expressions here are too strong and controversial. They may be true because there should be strong words and expressions that always call out and condemn any form of lynching. A political lynching is a crime against the oneness of our humanity, such as the situation today in America. It is the politics of division versus the politics of unifying all Americans for the best interest and future of the nation that is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. Justice is on the ballot. Equality is on the ballot. Equity is on the ballot. Freedom is on the ballot. The antidote to the current resurgence of ignorance, racism, cowardice, fascism, and retrenchment from freedom, justice, equality, and equity is to work hard daily and diligently to ensure the largest voter turnout this year in American history. Why do I claim responsibility for urgently making the statement on July 4th, 2024? African Americans, like others who fought and died in the fields and streets in the 13 American colonies during the Revolutionary War against the British Empire 248 years ago, have a birthright to the Declaration of Independence signed on July 4th, 1776, and later to the Constitution of the United States of America. DJ, can you still hear me? DJ, can you? Okay, just making sure. Although thousands of people of African descent who were not enslaved enlisted and fought for freedom and independence against the British, no people of African descent were invited or permitted to attend the formative meetings of the newly emerging nation's Democracy and Constitutional Convention held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1787. My great-great-great-great-grandfather, the Reverend John Chavis, 1763 to 1838, fought as a young enlisted soldier in the Revolutionary War against the British in our home state of North Carolina and in the state of Virginia. The Chavis family has lived in Granville County, North Carolina for over 285 years. My father, Benjamin F. Chavis, Sr., 1898 to 1965, enlisted and fought as a young sergeant major soldier in the United States Army in World War I. The point here is that generations of African and African American soldiers have enlisted and fought and died to defend and protect the nation and democracy for the past 248 years. And we are not going to permit anyone or anything to deny our birthright to freedom and democracy. For us, the right to vote in America is blood-stained and sacred. We know from our lived experience the horror, pain, and suffering from centuries of physical lynchings in America to satisfy the sheer fear, hatred, white supremacy, and ignorance of racism. Today, we also know when mobs cry out for the downfall and political lynching of those who have been our allies in our long struggle for freedom, justice, voting rights, equity, we cannot be silent. Now, I don't know if he's talking about that Joe Biden has been our long ally, but okay. Okay. It is ironic that also here in Raleigh, North Carolina, less than 24 hours after the questionable so-called debate in Atlanta, Georgia, President Biden spoke eloquently and forcibly at the NC State Fairgrounds about a couple of miles away from the John Chavis Memorial Park in downtown Raleigh. President Biden stated, "I know I'm not a young man to state the obvious. I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to, but I know what I know. I know how to tell the truth. The truth is therapeutic. Our nation needs more truth over lies and prevalent fake news." At the same time as the calls for President Biden to step down, the United States Supreme Court has now ruled that future and past presidential official acts of violence, crime, repression, voter suppression, and insurrection are all immune from prosecution as long as those acts are official within the core responsibilities of the President of the United States. This is dangerous and fundamentally against the meaning and principles of democracy. This is why now more than ever before, we must raise our voices and mobilize our families and communities to go out and vote in record numbers in swing states and every other state across the nation. We all have work to do. We said back in the 1960s civil rights movement, when things get tough in our struggle for freedom, we have to become tougher. Join me and raise your voice with me. Let's vote in record numbers throughout America. Stop the lynching of President Joe Biden. This is from the words of the Reverend Benjamin Chavis. Stop the lynching of Joe Biden. And that, like, what? What lynching is this dude talking about? It was basically a call for action to go out there and to energize the voting bloc. Now, here's the thing about it, too. Okay, who's lynching him? Because I know it's not black people lynching him, I mean, because they may have criticisms of him or whatever. And he's talking about the people that basically it's a political lynching because the people that stand in solidarity for us and had our backs and our allies and this and that, they're coming at them. Like, when has Joe Biden stood in solidarity, or Donald Trump, any of them stood in solidarity with black people? Like, I don't really know exactly what he's talking about here. Like I said, I know Chavis used to be the actual president of the NAACP. I can remember him at the Million Man March, and I think he had left at that time. I thought he had actually became a Muslim one time as well too, but I could be wrong. But he was I know he was at the Million Man March back in '95, whenever that was. I remember seeing him on TV. But what in the world is he talking about? The actual lynching of Joe Biden? Joe Biden got up there on national TV, looked unprepared, looked overwhelmed, looked like he was completely past his prime. And now you're sitting up here and you're saying because his own party is the one that wants him to step down, that his party is lynching him because the man it looks like he's just over the hill. That's who's lynching him. Does this man not know the amount of black men that had their necks strung up on these trees and stuff like that? Black women as well too that were actually lynched. And you're sitting up here and you're saying somebody who's always enjoyed the actual every right in this country, life never been threatened simply because how he looks or the color of his skin, that he's been lynched. What are we and people wonder why, like, nobody, and like I say, even though he's not part of NAACP anymore, this kind of sounds like an article that they would actually champion as well too. Like, people see why there are a lot of these black organizations and political groups and everybody else, why nobody takes them serious. I mean, Benjamin Chavis is not a boy here. This is somebody that has political ties, ties to the media as well too, very influential. And to sit up here and say that this man here, a man who was champion and friends with champions, a segregationist, a man who's made all kind of anti-black remarks in his lifetime, a man that said that you ain't black if you don't vote for him, to sit up here and say that this man is being lynched. That's nonsense. Go ahead, DJ. What's up? I see my girl, No Taxation, here. No Taxation. I gotta hear from you tonight, sweetie. You're an elder, and I gotta hear. I know you may have missed. I don't know if you caught the article, because I didn't. This one I didn't print up. I went to the actual site, our curation partner. Shout out to the Tennessee Tribune. That article comes off of the Newstoter.com platform. Visit Newstoter.com. Visit the Tennessee Tribune as well too. That article came off the platform. That article was the actual topic of the night about the lynching of Joe Biden. DJ, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, Sir Ben Chavis, let us know what we should bring to the lynching party. You know, we doing chicken, you know, macaroni and cheese. What we doing? What we need? I'm providing the food. You know what I'm saying? And the entertainment. You know, our DJ and stuff like that. So yeah, let's go. You know what I'm saying? F Joe Biden. We don't care if he being lynched. Strange fruit. You know what I'm saying? Strange cracker fruit. You know what I'm saying? Don't eat it. It's the poison apple from the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, nobody cares what no damn Joe Biden is being lynched, or even this Ben Chavis himself is saying that. And I do remember him being the leader of the NAACP. And yeah, he left right after the Million Man March, because I was actually at the Million Man March. Rest in peace to Maya Angelou too, you know what I mean? And I got another FU, Bill Clinton. He was having to be there too that day, you know what I'm saying? Get your ass off the stage, bro. You ain't doing nothing for us, you know what I mean? And I was a little young kid, you know what I mean? Shout out to my uncle Al Faddy, he took me down there, you know what I mean? Spares history in the nation's capital. But hey, Joe Biden, you need to be lynched, not in this theoretical sense, but we want your ass gone far away from the black community, far away, you know what I'm saying? Hunter Biden smoking crack, you know what I mean? Got caught with 8 grams of crack. Where you get the crack from, Hunter Biden? Didn't you send our black men and women to jail for years and years and years for a nickel size, a dime size of crack rock? Well, I guess the lynching should be commencing. What about all the black men you done sent to jail for the 1994 crime bill? Signed by Bill Clinton, by the way. So many black men in jail because of you to this day, bro. To this day. I'm pretty sure that if you was living up here in the north where I'm at, up here in the tri-state area, I'm pretty sure you don't got stopped and frisked. See, that's a part of that too. You see what I'm saying? Got thrown up against the wall. Hey, what you doing, little nigga? What you doing? You know what I mean? What you got? You got some drugs? You got a gun on you? Yeah, I'm just coming from school, officer. What the hell? All right? Well, I'm just coming from the store. What the heck? I just walked out my house. How many countless stories we got of that? Jokers going to jail for the rest of their life because some of the cops lied to them. That's Joe Biden for you, yo. And then you got the coons like Ben Chavis, Charlemagne, the not God, gonna sit up here and tell us black people that we not black if we don't vote for him. Well, hey, look, if that's the case, I guess I ain't a Negro. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't vote for your ass. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, let's not forget also that you're back on your son, because that's really what it's really about. You know what I'm saying? He's going to jail. He's a drug addict. He needs help, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely needs to go to jail for giving up our secrets to CCP. Where did that federal laptop go to, bro? That you took to a regular ass repair shop in Pennsylvania, and the dude snooped through it while he was fixing it. And all of a sudden, the laptop gone. So I wonder where the repairman at. He probably gone too. You know what I'm saying? They probably got that knacker up out of here, yo. You know what I mean? Real talk. I see you, Professor, coming up. So all this stumbling and bumbling you see Joe Biden doing on stage, that ain't no damn daggone dementia. There ain't no old age or mental issues. That's the ancestors from Lake Lanier. That's the ancestors, man, from Seneca Village. You see what I'm saying? That's the ancestors from Tulsa. That's what that is. Hey, Joe Biden, we over here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let me go over there with y'all at. Y'all got some watermelon over there. That's what he be saying to himself. Because you see he be talking to himself. That's how our ancestors doing God's work. God's plan, gotta hit him with the Drake. You know what I'm saying? God's plan, you know what I mean? Yeah, and let's talk about how you promised black people after you got elected. Black people, I will not forget you. And then when it came time, because he did ask, well, what should I do for black people? To Jim Jangles Coon Cloudburn, District 6, South Carolina, MarcelForCongress.com. Don't forget, MarcelForCongress.com. Cloudburn coon ass told Jim Crow Joe, oh no, sir, we don't need nothing, sir. You know, just a handshake and your love and affection is all good. You know what I mean? Black people don't need nothing. We got everything we need. Knowing damn well that the dirt roads in South Carolina, y'all ain't even got no concrete out there, man. Y'all ain't got no 5G phone. The internet ain't popping like that. We hear everything Marcel be saying, man. So how the hell is this dude Ben Chavis saying stop lynching Joe Biden? Because we calling him an African booty scratcher. You know what I'm saying, bro? Come on, man. It's over with, man. The DNC is right, unfortunately. I hate to say that. You got to step down, old man. Your pride in a way because you think Trump is going to win. Or you feel like you got some personal vendetta against Trump yourself. So all I hear and see throughout social media is, I'm voting for Biden, he the lesser of two evils. Project 2025, we can't vote for Trump. Y'all lived 4 years under Trump already. Your life ain't changed one bit. Ain't nothing changed, yo. You still the same person you was yesterday, 4 years ago and 4 years before that. So I don't understand how you got these black celebrities. That's why the OG ancestor Malcolm X was correct. Screw these celebrities. Don't advocate for them. Taraji P. Henson. Get your drunk, high looking self out of here off the BET stage. You looked so high, sister. You know what I'm saying? And white folks really must be messing with you. Get away from them. You got Jennifer Lewis out here talk about we gonna perish if Trump get in office. Why you always fear mongering something, Jennifer Lewis? Get your ass up out of here, man.
Try not to curse, but go ahead.
Now go ahead. I'm just talking because I'm sick of Joe Biden. He need to go retire in the
But it like that whole article, basically he starts off talking about it basically was just like I say, it was a call to action to get black people to try to go ahead. He's talking about hit the voter box harder than ever before and this and that or whatever. And it's basically just a call to action to get out there. You're talking about you haven't shown anything like that. What lynching? Like what? I mean, Joe Biden has been in politics for 50 some years. He's a white man. And that's not to say you didn't have white men that weren't lynched in this country, but it wasn't a normal occurrence. And it certainly wasn't white men that had influence or political power or wealth, anything like that as well, too. And when was the last white man in modern recorded time in this country that was lynched? So to sit up here and come up with all of this stuff about a lynching when none of this was ever even prevalent, I mean, come on, Ben Chavis, like, and it's like more scare tactics from black people as well too. The fact of the matter is that we've had all kind of bigots that's been in the White House. So if you get another bigot in there, be it Trump or be it Biden, black people are going to do what they always have done from the beginning of time since they've been in this country, since this country was founded. They're going to find a way to survive. No matter how bad the person is that you put in that White House, you know, we're going to find a way to survive. We've always found a way to survive in harder times than we've even seen today. So stop with all of this stuff right here, man. Stop with this. And this is one reason a lot of people, younger generations, have a issue with some of the older black people as well, too. I think some of these older black people see that the political power is actually slipping from their fingers and going to the next generations, and they're trying to hold on to it as much as possible, even at the risk of hurting future generations coming up from behind them. There's nothing whatsoever. There's no difference between Biden and Trump or whatever. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. It's really, one may do a little bit more at the border than the other may do. But at the end of the day, you know, we've had worse people in the actual White House than even these guys right here. And I know that's saying a lot, but we've had stone cold rednecks, racists. I mean, people that was just, you know, out to destroy black people that sat up there in that White House. And you're sitting up here and you're talking about a lynching because people made fun of your candidate. Now you're saying you're not here to represent. In that article, he said he's not here representing a political party. But then at the same token, you say that you're a Democrat. You're a Democrat supporter. So which is it? Either you're not representing a political party or you are. And we know the political party. That's why on the actual article I tweeted out, in the actual article on the actual photo on YouTube, you see a picture of Ben Chavis and Joe Biden together shaking hands and stuff. Because we already know, and let's be for real, even though he's not part of NAACP, the NAACP is a Democratic organization, and they've been a Democratic organization since the 1960s by far. So to stop up here with talking about a lynching, like that is what president of the United States has ever been lynched? What senator of the United States ever been lynched? What mayor of the United States ever been lynched? What county commissioner of the United States ever been lynched? What congressperson in the United States has ever been lynched? Okay, stop with this. I mean, just, and the fact of the matter that nobody has really called him out on this as well, too. Like, hey, don't you think that the words you put were not only disingenuous, they were misleading, and they were also dangerous as well, too? They were offensive to people who have family members in this country that actually did experience lynching. You know, and it kind of reminds me of that time when you had the whole situation with Clarence Thomas and the Anita Hill situation. I remember being in either elementary or middle school at the time when they was trying to get him in to be the Supreme Court justice, and then you had her come up with allegations of he sexually harassed her, and you know they had the actual the hearing on that and everything else. Now somebody, his entire career, once he got in there, he's been anti quotas, anti-affirmative action, anti anything that you consider that was black, anything that's going to help black people. But the minute that he got in trouble, he sat up there. Clarence Thomas, a person who doesn't have a problem telling you that racism doesn't even exist today, sat up there and talked about that this was a lynching, that he was being lynched. Okay, when it was time to go ahead and pull his black card, when his political career was on the line, he sat up there and said, you know, this is a political lynching. This is a lynching right here. Now, there's never been a time in American history that I know of that a black man has ever been lynched for anything that he's done to a black woman. Ever. There's not, show me any time in history where you had a black man, they strung the black man up off an allegation that a black woman said something about him. Okay, a white woman, yeah, they've stretched their necks thousands of times in this country. A black woman, no. So when it was advantageous for Supreme Court justice, before he was actually Supreme Court justice, Clarence Thomas to go ahead and to use his black card when he thought, hey, this is the time to go ahead and use it. Hey, he went ahead and he talked about, well, this is a lynching. Well, this is the same thing right here. This is another black man right here that's using it for political gain. And lynchings had nothing to do with political gain, not for black people. It was simply you were getting lynched because you were black. even when they knew that the allegations levied against black men were BS and they knew it was nonsense, to have that sense of power to go ahead and to reduce a black man almost to a level of a nothing, they would go ahead and they would do it. And you're sitting up here and you got this dude sitting up here, a man, like I said, that has influence, even though he's older, he doesn't have the influence that he once had. To sit up here and say that this is a political lynching because you got a man, damn near if he did win re-election, would be 86 years old when he left. People are worried about his cognitive ability right now. This man had to be helped off that stage with his wife. His wife had to come up there, hold his hand, and help him walk down the damn stage. And this is supposed to be the leader, quote unquote, of the free world. So people can pick at Trump and they can say that he shouldn't be, but they can't pick at Joe Biden. This is a political lynching? This ain't no damn political lynching. You got two geezers too old to even be up here running for office, yet they run up here for office. If anybody should be the joke of the free world politically, it should be America. Look at the two options you got up here in front of you. Neither one of these guys, both of these guys should be sitting down in a rocker somewhere with their great grandkids sitting down telling stories. Instead, they sitting up here running for office. And you're sitting up here and you want to go ahead and the pain that black people have gone through in this country, and you want to compare that to somebody who was a segregationist, somebody that made all kind of derogatory comments about black people, black men in particular, and you want to sit up here and say that this is a lynching? Because, man, please, Professor, go ahead. You got it. And then, DJ, we get back to you. Anybody, shout out to all you guys coming up in the space. Make sure y'all go ahead and retweet this space out tonight. And definitely, we would love to hear from some of our people in the listener section, some of our main people that come up in here. I see Pressure. I see No Taxation. I see Rella up in here as well, too. And I know some of y'all be working at nighttime and everything else. But if you get a chance, come on up here, because I would like, and like I say, the article, a lot of y'all did not actually come in here and hear the actual article that I read at the time. The article is up in the Jumbotron. It's on the far right-hand side. It's the very first article in the Jumbotron if you're in the X space, and it is complete nonsense. And yes, it was curated on Newstoter.com platform, but the article is complete BS. And the article is a call to action to go ahead and to energize the Black Democratic voting base to go out there and to vote. And the way that you and here's the thing: if he felt that this man was being politically lynched, he should have gave some examples. He should have gave some other examples politically, because there are dozens of examples, in real life of people actually being lynched in front of the whole neighborhood and kids out there and everything else going on. What's that, DJ?
Your phone cutting up a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's good. It was just like a little static for a hot second. Just going in and out real quick.
Well, let Professor go ahead and get it. You got it.
Yeah, thank you, that Newstoter. Good to see y'all in the space, DJ. See No Tax down there. See One Love in the house. Black Pressure down there. Silver. Good to see y'all up in here. Ben Chavis, along with a lot of these other ones that we see caping for Joe Biden, need to sit down, and sit 10 rows back down, okay? Because I'm tired of hearing these black Americans get all around black folks right now during the political season, trying to tell us how we should be voting for a man that has been seen and smelled shitting on himself overseas.
Language, Professor, language, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. Falling off stages. You just got to look at the conglomerate of everything that's been happening with Joe Biden to see he's not the person that we need to be looking at for a candidate, because he don't have his right frame of mind. Now, I'm not here to dog the man out, because if he got medical issues going on, look, this man needs to be retired and somewhere sitting, enjoying whatever days he have left. Why have him out here embarrassing himself? He looks like he's lost. He just don't look like he belongs anywhere near a political scene. His mind is gone, man. You can see he's blanking. He's blank. Like, he's got this blank look on his face. If you look at the video recently where he was sitting in the church, he looked like he was completely lost. You go back to the debate. He looked like he was out in space. Jill Biden had to come out and pull him off the stage. She has had to come and pull him off the stage a few times, look like it. We're seeing more and more of her out in the forefront. So what I'm saying is, we got to look at what's going on with him, that something is not all right with the guy, and he should maybe step aside. There's nothing wrong with people questioning what's going on with his mind. Because also, on the same side of that, people are saying Trump shouldn't be in it. He's a felon. He's got all kinds of issues going on, so he shouldn't be in it. Y'all, I'm going to tell you something. We are living in a time where I never thought I would see America in, where we're dealing with candidates that are basically looking like one is like he's completely blanked out.
It's two geezers up here. That's what they are.
That's what they are. And then this other one, he's been convicted of all these crimes. He sits up and he tells lies. Because even during the debate, he was lying. They did the fact checks on him. He lied all throughout the debate, so you can't trust him. He's already said that he's also willing to give something to the immigrants, y'all. So you see how Trump has flipped. He's flipped the script too. At one time, he was talking about doing what? Major deporting of these immigrants, right? He wants to do major deportation of the immigrants, but now he's flipped it and said, well, if they go into an American university, I give them this. So therefore, here's somebody that you cannot trust, and we also cannot vote for him. Then you got this other guy over here. He's look like he's senile and out of it. So we're in trouble in America. There you go. No offense to Trouble. She's not up in here right now, I don't think. Let me just check. Okay. All right. No offense, Trouble. You ain't in here. But anyway, we are in trouble in this country, y'all. I don't know who you can vote for when it comes to this whole presidential election. You really just, well, you know, some people say, well, why not try Dr. Cornell Rest? I don't know about that neither, because, well, I think he did say he's for reparations, but I think he's saying he wants reparations for all blacks. So is that any good for us? No. So see, this is the problem we have. We in trouble, y'all. We don't have anybody to vote for that. So you basically gonna have to just write somebody in. Like when you go in, you just have to write in there Daffy Duck. You know, that might be your best chance. Just write somebody in there. I don't know, because let me see what's the other candidate?
He got the money too, so we got right scrutiny.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. And then you got RFK. Now, I mean, you do have him, but he's also not for us when it comes to reparations.
His own family don't even endorse him.
Yes, see, that's what I'm saying. So that is family. We don't have anybody that's on our side in this fight, and we never have. So therefore, family, all we have is each other, and that's it. We got to try to bring this unity in. We got to try to bring this unity in. When I say unity, family, I am really sticking with the whole black majority states. And that's where we're going to have to go with right now, is to get family, all of our families, into the black majority states so we can get some power here, man. That's what we're going to have to do. And that means also helping each other to get into these black majority states. I'm living in one right now, as a matter of fact. Alabama. Alabama is one of those. Mississippi is one. You know, Delaware is one of the ones that we need to try to get into. South Carolina. I'm trying to make sure I remember the list, y'all. South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. These are the states. Basically, I'm gonna find a list. I'm gonna put the list in Jumbotron, but because we want to keep this going, by the way, so everybody can understand why these states are so important to us. We got to get into these black majority states so we can get some power. We don't have any power. We don't have any authority. and we are in trouble with these two geezers that we have for choices for president. So, family, I'm gonna land right there. I just want to say to you all, the only thing we can do now is just depend on each other, and that's something that we haven't done in a very long time. But I know our black leaders that have gone on, such as Malcolm X and Dr. King, they would love to see their people come together to bring this fight to a whole of unity, where we can all make sure that our people are protected, that we are all doing what we can to feed each other, we all doing what we can to encourage and build up. We might have our little fights, but at the end of the day, we are in this thing for the long haul. That's what those leaders would love to see us doing right now. And I'm going to land right there.
All right. Appreciate that, Professor. Thank you. DJ, go ahead. You got it. Shout out. I see Brooklyn. You came up here as well, too. Brooklyn, Andre, if you guys want to speak as well, too, go ahead and put your hands up. We'll get to you guys. We definitely love to hear what you guys got to say as well as our other speakers our other listeners up in here, guys. If you want to speak, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll get you up here. We love to hear what the community has to say as well, too. Definitely retweet the space out, guys. Definitely retweet the space out for everybody up in here. Give us a nice retweet. Let your followers know that it's going on. We're talking about the situation with former president of the NAACP, Benjamin Chavis, and the ridiculous comparison he made about lynching and Joe Biden. So we definitely want to get your thoughts and everything else as well, too. So DJ, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, I'll just be real quick. Let some other folks speak if they want to speak. But let's not forget the most important thing about Jim Crow Joe from Scranton, PA, you know what I mean? Shout out to Scranton. You was cool with Storm Thurmond, son. He's a known KKK, Ku Klux Klan. How the heck did Obama even allow this joker to be the vice president and we didn't even catch it back? We politically uneducated, unfortunately, yo. And we still doing the same thing 60 years later, yo. We about to run our booties to the poll. Get your booty to the poll. No fucking, no voting. And vote for the devil. Joe Biden is really the devil. Trump is just a minion. You know what I'm saying? Joe Biden is the devil. Well, which I try not. Well, some way nowadays. All the folks that I know up here in Jersey, they fear mongering, yo. That's all they doing. Oh, if you don't vote Democrat, this gonna be your last 4th of July, Newstoter. Huh? None of that makes sense, yo. And then you wonder why we keep getting screwed over and over and over and over, for years. This is a problem with our people. So the only question is, I really got, what's the solution to make Joe Biden lose this November? I don't care if Trump get in there or not, because we already done lived up to him. The Project 2025 stuff, or what the Heritage Foundation is saying they're going to do, we already going through that. See, a lot of black folks, y'all get up and go to work every day, send your kids to school, you go to school, so you ain't thinking about nothing political at the moment. See, it only becomes an N-word moment is when you get that wake-up call. So I don't understand why we still over here, Democrat, Kamala Harris. You ain't seen Kamala Harris do anything for black people the whole 4 years she been in office, but magically pop up at the BET Awards with Taraji and her drunk self, always crying about some money. You know what I'm saying? They're always whining about some job. Won't you come back to the black community in that way? We can just get you to write the script and we'll crowdfund it like we did Microphone Check. You see that, Taraji? But you don't want to be on a court with your black people. So don't whine at me. I don't care if you fail, sister. Because we already know how you get down. And you fear mongering up on live television on it really is a white platform, BET. Well, and that's another thing we need to do. I'm not even change the subject. We got to get them to change that name. Because as long as it's in the hands of the Crackanackers, you can't say this black owned. Same thing with the Essence Festival. That's owned by the Tuckanackers. How y'all keep saying this is black? And then y'all over here talking crap about reparations, Essence Fest. saying we don't need no reparations. Get a job, lazy nigga. Man, get these people up out of here, man. I yield.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, go ahead. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
All right, shalom to the space from the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. I love conversations like this because this is an excellent reason, everything that we're talking about in this, why we need to detach from the idea that voting is going to solve any of the problems in the Black community. We keep on being let down not only by the politicians, but by the types of Black people who are in the structure, who are close to the politicians, who are propping them up, who are supporting them, who are pushing every demonic ideology and everything that keeps us beaten down, oppressed, weakened, and everything that keeps us exposed to the same bullshit that we keep talking about. We keep going in circles on. This cat. What's his name? What's his brother's name?
You talking about Ben Chavis?
Ben Chavis is a perfect representation of the NAACP. Of course he was. Of course he was a former head of some chapter of the NAACP. This is the type of shit them niggas would say.
Hey, Brooklyn, try not to curse because we streaming it on YouTube. But go ahead.
Okay, my fault, bro. These are the types of things that these characters would say. This is what you expect from these guys because they prop up these politicians who do nothing for us and give us nothing except empty promises. And then all they have to show for what they've done, as the brother just alluded to, are things that really just benefit white people more. And all they have to fearmonger to scare us into voting for them are things that will harm white people more than us. But nothing specific to, they're not coming with anything specific for us. It's not going to change. We got to build up our nation. We got to rebuild the Black family, the Black community, Black masculinity. We got to retake everything that they're using this system to try to take from us.
And I agree with what you're saying about building up the Black family and the masculinity and the community as well too. But let me ask you this real quick, Brooklyn, in terms of the voting, you don't think that we need to go ahead and start getting our candidates ourselves, people that we can actually we actually picking from the grassroots. We go ahead and we put them in position to go ahead and represent us in Congress and local politics and everything as well too. You don't think we need to go ahead? Because if not, we're going to keep having people like, even though Ben Chavis, quote unquote, is not a political person in terms of, an actual elected official, he did at one time because of the media and everything else in the NAACP have some kind of, he was the actual president of the entire NAACP. So he has some kind of influence as well too. But you don't think that we need to go ahead and find candidates that we go ahead and, we check out and we make sure they're up to par and put them in the politics so they can go ahead and represent us better than what we have so far out there?
No, we can't put our hopes in that. And I'm going to use him as a perfect example. As you just alluded to, he's the type of guy that will be, he's more influential than a politician because he's the type of guy who will be in the ears of politicians claiming to represent Black people. And that's what we have to tear down and rebuild. We need real, valid structures like the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge to grow to represent Black people so that these politicians know who they're answering to when they come to the community. Right now, we have guys like him standing in for us, claiming to be our voice. And that's the problem. Other than that, we're just going to have a cycle of the same politicians, the same type of guys coming in. We got to be honest with ourselves in terms of how much voting power we have. And we're going to end up compromising constantly. It hasn't advanced us in any meaningful way. We're still at the bottom in every serious statistic. You see the social issues that we're dealing with in our community that are not getting better, it's getting worse. Politics is not going to solve that. So I'm not going to, rain on anybody's parade in terms of wanting to get your local candidates on the ballot or what have you. But we got to stop expecting that to be the solution. It's not going to be. It hasn't been, and nobody in here can convince me that it's going to be any different in the future.
All right. Well, I can I respect your opinion, and a lot of what you said I agree with. There are some things that I do, disagree with as well too. I think we do need some candidates up there that, like I said, that aren't bought and paid for, and put up there by Democrats, Republicans. They have to actually come from our own base as well too. But everything else you were saying in terms of, the family, the community, masculinity, and all of that, I'm 100% with you on that as well too. But I do think that we do need some kind of some political backing, some people that really, really have our back. So, I don't fault you. And I know we're going to have a lot of our people in this election in particular. There's a lot of our people talking about sitting out and not voting as well too. So that's going to be, that's going to take place as well too. You're going to have some people that's so fed up with the Democratic Party and people like Biden that they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and vote for Trump. And then you're going to have the other ones say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to vote for either one of these fools. I'm going to just stay home and I'm not going to vote at all or whatever. So I think we're going to see a lot of this happen in the next election that's coming up here in November. But I definitely appreciate you coming up here tonight, and stick around too, man, in case you want to hop back in the conversation.
And let me give you one more thing to think about on that topic. There's communities who don't send candidates, who don't push their people to vote, and they have more influence because the politician, whatever politician gets in that office, knows that they have to answer that as community in real life. And we keep pushing to vote, and we don't have that power. They just take our votes for granted.
Real talk. I mean, when you look at, there are populations that's smaller than the black population in this country. When you look at actually people like the Asians, they don't have the numbers that black people have in this country, but they are getting laws and things like that, and they are getting things in their favor as well too. So I agree with you. It's just been that we have to deal with the system as well. So the system comes after us more so than they come after Asians, Hispanics, or any of these other groups as well too. So definitely, I definitely agree with you on that. Like I said, I would like to get a political base going with our people. But like I say, it can't be the same thing that it's been with. We're actually, like, we're not choosing people to represent us. These people have been presented to us. Whenever we get most of these people, very few of these people actually are homegrown. These people actually been shoved to us and like, okay, this is who represents you guys right here. Instead of us saying, hey, you know what? This is the man, this is the woman, these are the people here that's going to represent our interests in Congress and local politics, in state politics and federal. Like, we're not doing that. It's always that we always have to go ahead and they find somebody that they groom and say, hey, you know what, this person will be good for you to represent your interests and stuff like that. And we're not doing that as a people. We're not saying, hey, you know what, no, those people that you picked right there, we're going to sit them down. We're going to beat them in the election. We're going to put them out of their misery. And these are the people right here that's going to represent us. And these are the people that are going to look out for our interests as well too. So very, very interesting convo between us right now. Like I say, stick around because I definitely want to hear more from you as well. What's up, Miss Rella? I see you up here. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Newstoter. How are you guys? Hey, DJ.
Hey, what's up, Rella?
Hey, how's everybody? Shout out to the space. Shout out to everybody in the rooms. I want to say shout out to all the beautiful people. Listen, the NAACP at this moment in time, I believe that, again, if you're not in the communities going to and showing up for a lot of these organizations that have been in place to actually vocalize the things that we actually have been unfolding in the last 5 years, I don't care what your religious background is or what your belief is. If you are for the descendant community and you're not showing up and you're not making your presence known, then again, we're going to always be in this rabid cycle of thinking that, well, we haven't seen, these things in the last however many years and nothing has happened, and it'll always be this doom and gloom, because what we've learned in the last 5 years is, even though people use the position that the agents are able to get specific things, and they don't actually show up to vote, they actually have organizations that actually show up and they have committee members that actually show up where it counts. So there is the United States Commission of Civil Rights. They actually show up heavily and testify for their community. We do not, and we do not do it from the lens of the descendant community on a lineage basis. And also, they also work in tandem with particular representatives that they do put up and they do fund, and they have lobbyists through their committees and as well as individuals. They're able to contact and communicate with their community by way of a particular language. I think the thing that we most struggle with is that you have a lot of different fractions in our community, whether it's religion, whether it is organizations, or whether it is just people who don't want to vote and they just kind of want to be, couch sitters. There's still people that represent our collective community that do not show up where it counts. So if you have a group of people that only vote one way, but they've never really strategically looked at the landscape of their local, state, and federal government and said, okay, well, who is it that we need to actually lobby that's going to push our agenda that we need to be in proximity with or communicate and contact? Then you have the commitment of being consistent. Consistency is our Achilles heel. We have that bad. So we get to a point where, because we don't see the things we want to see, we leave it up to the hands of the people who are become the mainstream media prop up, token, whatever, and then we're mad because we didn't get what we wanted. Well, we didn't show up. We didn't make sure that stuff got written down and documented. We didn't make sure we were in the rooms where it mattered. And I'm a really hammer that home, because again, if you're going to be a part of any a group of a collective in this community of descendants or of Black melanated people or what have you, you're not showing up where it counts. If you're only outside on YouTube and doing these other things, and I'm not saying those are wrong, I'm saying that you're not showing up where it matters. And where it matters is in the faces of our government, and then also putting our people up as well. They don't have people that are championing and pushing the legislation that has been on the books for eons, because they're not concerned about making sure that the impact is that we are repaired as a people.
Rella, let me ask you one quick
representation.
Let me ask you one quick question, Rella, because I know you were talking about the Asians and the way they moved and everything else. But do you really believe over the past 50, 60 years that Asians have been more politically active than Black Americans in this country?
So I believe that after the last civil rights,
because we put more people in office than Asians have.
Yeah, but putting people in office versus people that you have actually lobbied to put in office, I'm not talking about other groups that have put money up for the Black community for people to get in office. I'm talking about people that we've run from the grassroots, like Marcel, like Tamara, like Reverend William Somerville. Like I'm saying, these are people that we can specifically say we were a part of their campaigns. We were talking to them. We got our issues.
But I would assume in some of these predominantly Black cities, when you look at Washington, D.C., you look at Detroit, you look at Atlanta that have Black mayors and everything else as well, too. Yeah, I'm sure that there's white dollars and everything with the Democratic Party as well.
Let me finish what I'm saying. So all I'm saying to you is that, again, having Black faces in high places, that's not the name of the game. That is old. Jesse Jackson, let's go ahead and sit back and kumbaya with everyone, and let's all, we are African American type behavior. I'm specifically talking about in the last 5 years, in the work that a lot of organizations that have been built up on the grassroots that have uncovered and realized that there is a strategic way that we have to move as a collective to get the things that we want. And also, Dr. Claude Anderson also laid the groundwork oh my gosh, before I was probably even born, Empowernomics. Shout out to John Conyers, who literally was trying to get a collective of people, no matter what their religious beliefs were, where they came from, if they were panties or not, and I mean Pan-Africans or not, but they also had similar ideas, ideological beliefs, but he was trying to put a panel together of people that would help build a strategic track for us to run. Now, after he passed away, I felt like maybe that generation just kind of died down, and it became let's symbolize our way into government. Let's try to educate our way by way of, we need financial literacy, and people always point to those different things. And it's not that we don't, but when it comes to politics and economics, I feel like you got to compartmentalize them, and you have to know how to gravitate to the things that we want by way of people that we are pulling from our community on a consistent basis every 2 to 4 years, getting people prepared and ready to go and get into the battle. Fatigue is real. People who like to come every so many generations, and then you only get that one person, and we try to prop them up and make them just that one ideological martyr, instead of actually everyone getting into the circle of collective work. Now, the principles of Kwanzaa might be an African-based, Pan-African thing, but I'll tell you what, the definitions of the words put together, they do mean something, and they also do help to implement the things that we are looking for. You have to actively actually do those things. You don't have to be a Pan-African to do it. You can just actively want to see those principles alive. So the masculinity I'm hearing about, the family, bringing the family community back together, that's all a part of the grand scheme of working collectively. And if you can't do that, and you don't want to do that, and you want to do it only the way because it has to be this way because this is your belief, you're going to lose, because everyone is not a monolith, but we do share identical stories, and we do share and want to be repaired. So we have to find that common ground. And you can't look at what was done yesterday, because yesterday didn't help us. So how do we plan for tomorrow, right now, strategically move forward? And at the end of the day, that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassed as an American.
Rella, real quick, let me add on real quick for a second, Rella. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Some of what you say, I do disagree with. When you're talking about Dr. Claude and the Powernomics as well, too, Dr. Claude, one of the main things he talked about building up before even a political base is a financial base. The Asians, I know what you were saying about the Asians. The Asians don't have a whole lot of representation. They're not a whole lot of people. There's not a whole lot of Asian people in politics and stuff that's representing them now. Yeah, they may lobby this person and lobby that person as well too, but financially, the Asians were propped up by the government in terms of the finances and everything else they got. That's one reason that politically that you see groups that's smaller than black people in this country, because black people have outvoted. When you look at these demographics, a lot of these people, and people say, well, black people don't participate in election and this and that. Well, there's a lot of groups that don't participate as much as black people, yet these people have a bigger economic base, a financial base than black people as well too. Asians being one. Asians haven't been for the past 40, 50 years political savvy, and the last 5-10 years are not going to change everything, that their entire fortunes like that. What has changed their fortunes is that the United States government, and even to a certain degree, maybe some of the nations that they migrate from, actually give them a backing and a base like that as well too. But Asians, politically and stuff like that, they haven't been as political savvy and in terms of, getting their numbers up and doing everything that black people have done. Yeah, can we do more? Definitely we can do more and stuff like that as well too. But a lot of these groups, it wasn't politics that moved them up. It was a simple fact that the United States wanted to go ahead and have buffers and everything else like that and place people in certain levels. So yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the Asians now becoming more political savvy, because now they are flexing their muscle. The Asians, let's be for real, the whole thing that happened with COVID and everything else wasn't because because they had so many people in Congress or politics and stuff like that, they was able to go ahead and champion what they wanted. It's because of, hey, financially, they've been propped up over black people. So yeah, they do have a financial backing, a financial base and everything else like that. So if they were to go out there and get and lobby people, this and that or whatever, it's because, hey, the government helped to prop them up in there in that financial situation as well too.
Well, okay, so again, I'm going to say this again. The Asians are able to get government backing because they first base of economics or powernomics was that you have to buy you a politician. They buy their politicians. They lobby their politicians, so they don't have to be out front and out voting and speaking up.
Well, who are they? What politicians have they bought though? But but real quick before you go on and stuff like that, because I'm just trying to figure out how could a group that's significantly smaller than black people, or less financially, yeah, powernomics. And Dr. Clark talk about building up your financial base and then buying your politicians. So how did they come to this level here?
So honestly, the only thing I can tell people is that you have to go out and you got to do some research. And it does state that they actually did get legislation. They got acts passed for it on their behalf, and they didn't need a lot of people to do that. And yes, they did have economics that they brought into the country because let's face it, the Black Americans do not have a nation to help to actually pour into us so we can buy our politicians. So we actually have to work with the money that we actually are accumulating for our entire community. That is like a feat, because you have to literally try to get this knowledge to everybody and say, listen, we need to put something together and we need to work and do swing voting, and we need to work to make sure that we can push money to get to buy our politicians. We have not been doing that. And then on top of that, Black Majority State and Black American Homeland have laid out a strategic plan. The Asians have had a foot over us because they were able to do that. If you have somebody in your local and state government that is denying permits for Black Americans in the community who have mom and pop shops, and they're pushing them out because they're not getting the foot traffic for the people that they're moving into the community, and people aren't able to go ahead and pay for different things, and they're making it so we stay in a deficit, then yes, the government has a hand in that. But it doesn't mean that the government is not working the way it's supposed to, because for other groups, as you pointed out, the Asians are able to get the things that they need because they were able to successfully get their politicians and people who back and support their community in politics, whether it's on the local state.
But who are their politicians? I want to know, who are their politicians that put them in power like this, where they were able to go ahead and get this and everything else? So I want to know, who are the politicians that put Asians in the power like this?
I'd have to do that work. I'd have to do that research and get you some names and stuff.
I'm going to tell you who the politicians were. The politicians was the white United States government that allowed them to go ahead and go from the level that they were at to where they were at, because the Asians have not had the government constantly undermining every single solitary thing that they did. There's no COINTEL for Asians. There's no burning down a little Chinatown and little Koreatown and all that other stuff. There's none of that stuff that we've had to deal with.
But Newstoter, it does not mean that they have not been, that you can't look at them and say that they have a successful imprint of what they've done, because again, we know that our government has been strategically coming after us in different ways. That wasn't my point. My point is literally to say we have not been consistently showing up regardless of the things that has happened to us. Our ancestors did a better job than we did, and they were in a worse position that we are in. So I am in agreement with DJ. We are politically lazy and we're ignorant.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you said. I'll agree with you said on that part there, Rella. But also, like you say, our ancestors that had it hard, our ancestors that came right out of slavery and Reconstruction, put their political power together. As soon as they did that, the United States government started to undermine them and start to put in black codes. Our people in the 70s with the Panthers and everybody else, as they started becoming politically savvy, community savvy, and everything else like that, people started getting picked off left and right. They started doing all kind of little janky things. Now, there is no majority Asian state in this country. There is no majority like black is trying to get a majority black state. There is no majority Asian state. Yet these people have the actual money and the power and the prestige and everything else that we as black people would have had if the government had just stayed out of it. Now, I agree with you. We still, as people, we still got more that we need to do. We know that they're going to constantly undermine us, so we just got to continue to work harder as well too. But groups like the groups like the Asians and some of these Arabs and all these other stuff, groups that are so small in their actual numbers and stuff like that, their power didn't come solely from politics.
No, their power came from politics in other nations. If you have other places that actually can feed into your stability to be in another nation, then you have another form of power. Our power has to come a different way, and when we realize that and get over the fact that all these other groups are doing the things that they're doing, we'll be better off for it, because it's not going to change their conditions, because we're not trying to change their conditions, we're trying to change ours. So my concern and focus really would be on how do we strategically get over the hump of moving forward, moving back to a place where we were a lot more strategically, collectively together because we were forced to, versus everybody doing their own thing because, oh, I don't like this person. Oh, I don't deal with these people. Oh, you don't believe what I believe, so I can't talk to you. Or you're in some other group, so I can't deal with you. That doesn't work, and it shows that it hasn't worked. So the conversation around together we can stand and divided we fall, we've proven that, definitely.
All righty, I see we got no taxation up here. Go ahead, no taxation. You got it.
Hey, News and DJ and Rella and everybody is going down black.
Hey, what's up now?
The Newstoter family. Ben Chavis been that way all his life, I guess. It's so funny. I was looking back because, it's interesting to me to hear how Democratic leaning politics plays out in everyday life. And I get to see that through you all, right? Because I was raised in the Republican leaning. And so it's almost like a foreign language to me, but one that I'm used to, so I hear certain buzzwords. But having said that, I think about Calvin Butts, Reverend Calvin Butts. He was out of Harlem, and how they locked him out of the movement because they said he was too radical. He was, he came in as a young guy, right? Too radical for this and too radical for that. And I remember that he was approached to come on over to the Republican side, and he refused to do so. And so he worked independently. It wasn't that he was a big Democrat or Republican. He worked independently, and the great work that he did in Harlem, especially with older Black Americans and having a decent place to live, decent, safe, clean, that kind of thing. Just great work, and they locked him out, and he became a stalwart for the community in Harlem, but they let Ben Chavis come in. DJ, I sent you the article about Ben Chavis and why he got kicked out of the NAACP. He was supposed to be the bright, shining star, all of that, coming in, and he talked a good game, I guess, and it fell apart because of him. And the article explains that if DJ could put it in the Jumbotron, I was over here trying to put it in that purple pill, but y'all know how I am. It's going to take a bit. So I just wanted to come up here and say that. Don't be shocked. The word lynching, the other thing I want to say, News, is Justice Thomas said it was a high-tech lynching. See, that's a lynching of a different form, and that's what he was trying to say. That was a very highly charged political statement at the time, said in front of all of America and the whole world. And he said it in such a way that made it true. And we've seen more high-tech lynchings of Black men in the media since then. So, we can sit here and all name names on who we think it is. but who we thought got a high-tech lynching. But so that was it was a different distinction than what Ben Chavis has been saying. And Ben Chavis has been throwing the word lynching all around all his life, I suspect, because he uses it quite often. So it's not unusual, and he does need to stop that. He needs to take his ass. Excuse me. He needs to take a trip to Alabama, and I call it the Lynching Museum, but that's not what it is. And go see the museum that Brian Stevenson set up and did all that work. Brother, I know you were talking the other day about who are these people, what are their names. Brian Stevenson did that work, and he, and almost by himself, and then a team came on with him, but he was highly concerned about that. That's why that's not a word that we need to throw around, and it's not a word that Ben Chavis should be throwing around. But what happened to Justice Thomas was a high-tech lynching. There's things that a lot of people just really don't know what happened in that situation, and if you tell them, they're like, how do you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I never tell the story, but it was a high-tech lynching. But because you got to understand who did that high-tech lynching. It was Joe Biden, remember? That's who he was pissed off about. Nobody else, just Joe Biden. Y'all's president.
But let him tell it, no taxation. There's no such thing as racism. So lynching shouldn't, in the 1990, 91, whenever that hearing took place, then that should just been a figment of our imagination, because let him tell it, quotas and racism and all this other stuff was just a boogeyman.
Well, sometimes politics is a dirty, filthy game, and I tell y'all that all the time. But the other thing that I tell y'all is that white supremacy plans well in advance. Don't I tell y'all that? White supremacy plans well in advance. When I say well in advance, I'm talking about 50 plus years. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we always trying to catch up, and that's why we in the 50-year loop. Sometimes people can forecast and see what's coming on because they reside on the hill, and they know what people are saying behind closed doors and what the plan will be. Well, in the next 20, 25 years, we can make this step. And then in another 25 years, it should be complete. See, that's how white folks talk behind closed doors in politics. And so sometimes people are privileged to hear that information so that they can make the moves that they need to make. And I think you should go back and read everything that he said. Some of the things that he said needed to be done. Especially one of these last rulings about who is owed. He didn't say it like that, but him and Ketanji said basically the same thing. I've never known Justice Thomas to ever say that racism did not exist. That's not something I know about him, and I do know him. I do know his story.
Yeah, I know because I got some family members from the same city that he was from in too, and there's somebody that benefited from affirmative action to go ahead and say some of the stuff that he said later on as well too. He's been an anti-black, even though he's a black man. He's been a major anti-black.
I don't know him to be that. That's just me. But and I know his story about before they actually came to Georgia, they lived in the islands off Georgia, and how white folks came in there and burned their houses down and told them that they had to move into, to the mainland of Georgia. That's how he actually got there. But, he should be telling his story. And, it's okay to disagree. I get it. A lot of people don't like him. They don't like his rulings. Some I agree with, some I don't. But that's the way life is. It doesn't always go your way, Is he doing anything particularly detrimental to black folks? We shall see. I don't think there's anybody out here that does anything worse to black folks than white supremacy. That's just me. So, and I'm going to leave it there. Thanks.
All right, no taxation. Rella, go ahead. You got it.
Thank you. And yes, no taxation. Brian Stevens, who is he is the president or the CEO over the Equal Justice Initiative. They also do a lot of initiatives. I remember the research that they did in regards to the slave memorial, the lynching memorial, and I always question, again, they uncover the people, or they couldn't really get a lot of the stories, but they did a lot of the the DNA sampling of the soil and, some archaeological work, but they never really identified who at the time were around, like the people that were around in those areas, who lived in the population proximity in those areas that could have committed those crimes. That's my only kind of like, kickback in regards to I wish they would do more when they do a lot of those excavations, and they actually get to tell the stories about the population groups that were in those areas, such as like, Germans or Irish or Italians or things like that, or if they were, Anglos from wherever, do that side of the historical work, because to me, we need a full picture. We need a full picture, not just on, the people that existed that were murdered or genocided out, but we need a full picture of either a hypothetical or possibility, or we could point to, hey, we got these pictures, folks, were sending like stuff through the mail, they were doing all kind of crazy stuff, and we can identify these were the particular population groups that were recorded through either census, records of slave laws and stuff like that, or even after during Jim Crow. All of those things, I wish they would do that particular work, and not just, the telling of the stories of us, because we need to identify our enemy, and we need to light it up and let people know, hey, these were the people that were, are the names of families, like they always do when they're talking about genealogy work. So I would like to see more of that.
I agree, but I think, and Professor can speak to this more, better than I can. I lived in Alabama for 6 years or 7 years, I can't remember. When I was there, and I don't know that it has changed. When I was there, to speak of such things, and to get people to open up and talk about it is very difficult, and because a lot of people are still afraid. And I'm talking about older people, but Professor can speak to that more than I can, because I think he understands where I'm trying to go with that.
Yes, sister, I do, and good to see you up in the space, but yes, I remember talking to my grandmother about a lot of this history when I was writing my paper about the civil rights era, and this was something that's very difficult to talk about because it was a lot of fear. My grandmother talked about the fear that people would be in such matters because that could be repercussions. You have to remember, under this system, and particularly back during that time, they didn't mind coming to your neighborhood, to your house, coming to do something to one of your black boys, or your black daddy, your black uncle, or hell, even to the black women. Back during that time, they had all rights to do that. And who was going to stop them? They terrorized communities. And my grandmother described all of these details to me when I was writing my paper at Auburn University, which is why I got an A. I thank the good Lord for my grandmother, because she shared a lot of knowledge with me. And she was the reason why I got that A+ on that paper. And that professor in that class said, man, your grandmother really gave you a lot of information from her personal perspective of the civil rights movement, the civil rights era. And Sister No Tax is correct. It's hard to get people to speak on that issue. It's because it's almost like it's a blockage there. Like a lot of times when you ask black folks about something that happened in the past that was traumatic, they try to block it out. And it's from the psychological standpoint, I can only assume that you just want to forget about it, right? Just like you hear white people say all the time in these spaces, why can't y'all just forget about it? Why y'all got to keep talking about this? right? That's what we do. See, we've been doing an injustice to ourselves because we don't want to talk about this stuff. We don't want to look at ourselves as victims because we've been told that we really are not victims by them, okay, by the people that are in power. So, and Brother Muko tells y'all all the time in these spaces, we are victims. And we need to make sure that we understand that we are victims. Even to this very day, we are victims of the so-called system of white supremacy that's been put in place. And it still to this day affects our minds, it affects our hearts, it affects our souls, it affects our health. So when Sister No Tax is talking about this, it's a blockage there. That we don't want to be victims. We want to forget about it. But the truth is, we are victims. And the more we try to block it and say we don't want to be victims and don't want to talk about it, or we feel like we should just forget about all of that from the past, we are doing more harm to ourselves, because when you're talking about these claims that we're trying to file, that's what you're going to have to deal with if you're talking about trying to get reparations. So, y'all, when I look at this paper, I got it out right now. This is a claim for me. This is antique for me. My grandmother and me share this paper. This is going to be part of my claim, see? This is going to be my way to help get us reparations, because she told the history. She gave the knowledge, and your grandparents gave the history and the knowledge. And you should share the history of what happened to them, so you can also bring it together with what's going on today. And don't try to block it out. I'm going to land right there.
All right. Thank you, Professor. Let me give a shout out to Miss Trigger for her donation on Cash App. I had Mark up here, but Mark must have left the space because I wanted to hear what Mark had to say. I definitely wanted to get Mark up here, and I wanted to hear his point of view on the actual title of the room as well, too. But apparently Mark, he dipped out. So if he does come back in here, I'm going to see if I can get him up here. We're not going to keep the space going too long tonight anyways. You know, I like to try to keep it a couple hours. Sometimes we'll go over that, but we're not going to keep it too long. I definitely want to, if anybody that wants to say anything, come up here and speak as well too. Feel free, Professor. Thank you. I don't see my man Original. Original's not up in here tonight either. So I would definitely love to hear what Original had to say about that as well too. With Ben Chavis as well too. But DJ, is there anything of Brooklyn? I know it's been a minute since you spoke, Brooklyn. Is there anything you would like to add? I know we were talking earlier. You were talking about, in terms of just, pretty much refraining from politics and everything else as well, too. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Hey, yeah, I'm just out here moving around a little bit, but I've heard some good conversation on that topic. Just like I was saying earlier, we have to build up power and influence, from economic wealth to just the social influence, to where we can go to a politician and demand things, whoever's in office. That has to come before we worry about who we vote for. Otherwise, we're just going to keep getting empty promises over and over and over. We should be tired of that by now. We should want something better by now. We should be looking for different options by now.
Agree, and I think everybody in the space, they agree with that. Everybody's tired of the same empty promises. But when you have certain people up in place and power, like Ben Chavis tonight, we're talking about. He doesn't have an issue voting for Joe Biden. If he could vote for him 100 times, he'd vote for him 100 times, and that's where the disconnect comes from right there. Because just how many times do you have to fail before you finally say, you know what, I give up. I want to go ahead and try something different. And a lot of our people, no matter how many times they fail, they feel like the other side, and I'm not telling anybody to go vote for the Republicans or anything, but they feel like if I keep voting for this side here, no matter how bad it is, it's still not as bad as the other side as well too. So I think that's politically where a lot of black people in this country are at right now. They're like, hey, it's bad where I'm at, but it's even worse if I go on that side of the street as well too. So I think that's kind of where a lot of people are. I don't feel that way, but a lot of people do feel that way.
No, absolutely, and that's the problem, is that we feel like we only have two options because we feel like we have to engage in this political system to get anywhere, and that's what we have to break from. Otherwise, we're just going to be bouncing back and forth between two sides that just hate us in different ways. We need more options. We need to think outside of this box. We can't just keep arguing over who we're going to vote for, who's going to let us down next, who's going to take us for granted next, who's just going to toss us off to the side next.
Absolutely, I agree. And I know we were talking about Dr. Claude Anderson, but one thing, we talking about the political thing, but Dr. Claude Anderson also mentions that, even before you get to that point, that you need to focus on economics. And as black people, I think we focus more on the political side more than the actual economic side as well too, because we're still not doing the group economics. And I'm not talking about a little dab here and a little dab there. We're not doing it as a majority. We're not doing it even as a decent sized number either.
Right, absolutely, and that's what all those other groups have done right. They never gave that up, because we had that at one point, and of course, with us, it was attacked in so many different ways that other groups never went through. But at the end of it, the death knell for the black economic success was our decision to follow leaders who told us to integrate. I'm sure everybody in this space knows, but in case anybody doesn't know, they rebuilt Tulsa. Tulsa wasn't done because it was attacked. Tulsa was done because of integration, because we stopped going to our stores, because we stopped circulating our dollar in our community. We have to rebuild ourselves. We got to focus on what nobody else is going to give us, the love that nobody else is going to give us. These politicians don't care about us, and the black people who claim to represent us in organizations like the NAACP damn sure don't care about us.
Real talk. Thank you, Brooklyn. Let me go ahead and get to DJ, and then Rel, I'm gonna get to you.
Go ahead, Rel, trip you got it, sister.
I sent you some, DJ. I can wait after you go.
Yeah, it's in the Jumbotron, actually. Go ahead and check. Go ahead.
Oh,
Says,
cool.
well, it should be there. Hold up. Taxation, I'm sorry. That's .org with the fire and the pen shaving. So hold on, let me see what you said.
No, I think I put it in the main. It's the YouTube video for Powernomics, the journal. But I agree with someone what Brooklyn is saying. For the most part, we definitely have to figure out how to disengage. The way that we actually engage with politics in our communities. We did leave our communities because of whatever was happening. Whether it was we weren't getting the things we need. People always talk about jobs, the environment, or just consistently being genocided out. When you're talking about the attack on maternal mental health, when you're talking about the attack on our children, our men, people decide that they need to leave, and so they migrate all across the country into little places. And I think that was by design. That was meant to, again, get us into a space where we are at low numbers so that we can be genocided out easier. And so that's the reason why I really wholeheartedly, I really do believe in the Black majority state. And I also do believe in not disengaging into politics, but re-engaging in a different way. And learning how to definitely utilize our power as a collective. We haven't seen it in a long time. people do point to like what happened during the bus boycott and how powerful that was, because that was a disruption to the economic framework for America's transportation system. And without that, and the money that was going into that, by way of our community alone, was wild. And if you have not fully read that story, or read about that particular time in history, you need to. And that wasn't the only one. So I think there are several things that we could do. We just have to be willing and committed consistently to stick to a plan and start to stick to each other like glue. Like the love for ourselves, the love for the survival of our community has to be number one. It has to. Almost like air and water. We need to bathe in it. And, I believe that's what really God wants us to do, to learn how to serve each other, learn how to serve our community so we can get the things we need. So there's no other political system that we can engage in. So we have to deconstruct the system that we're in and engage it in a different way. So again, I'm gonna always be a Negro, definition by definition, and a descendant of the freedmen people, a Black American, and all those things, because I'm in this country. There's no other place that I'm leaving to go to. I'm not running nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So my bones will be laid where I rest, and I'll leave it like that. Thanks, Newstoter, for the space.
All right. Thank you, Rella. I see we had a new speaker, Hood Witch. Did you want to say something? You came up here. Did you want to add something to the conversation, or you good?
Yes, I did. Much love to the space. I was stuffing my face with ice cream, but I was agreeing with what One Love has said, and I wanted to add. I think, well, first off, the NAACP haven't done nothing. Well, I don't know what they have done. If you ask me, in my opinion, the presidential election is one of the biggest scams to me, in my opinion. I feel like as Black people, we should vote within our local communities. If you know how that works, they teach us that in school. How to vote, and we all, the electoral college, everything like that. There have the next president pick, and I feel like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the things that they're doing to get Black votes is insane. What has Kamala Harris have done? She just did this branding, talking about they not like us. Where has she been? And I want to say to One Love, the good sister that was here talking, the Black dollar in our community only stays, it only circulates for every 6 hours. No, I'm sorry, not every 6 hours. Only 6 hours. It only stays in our community for 6 freaking hours. You could thank redlining for that. Of course, you could thank gentrification for that. So unfortunately, the neighborhoods, the Black communities that we're in, our people don't have no other choice but to outsource out, go to the other side of town, maybe 15, 20 minutes down the street to go to a decent grocery store, or, the Black farmer market that's probably an hour out that has some land that's growing, vegetables and got their animals out there. We have to outsource because of history. What's going on in your Black community? And when we're talking about certain things like rebuilding and having our Black-owned banks and all of this, like Tulsa, right? Another Black Wall Street. And I believe that there are some organizations, some groups individually that got some land and trying to live off grid. But the thing about it is, the Black Panther Party, if you know anything about the counterintelligence program, the Black Panther Party was listed as what? A terrorist group, right? That was the whole point of the counterintelligence program. the things that we talk about on these spaces, we got to get a new government and we got to do this and we got to stick to our own. Sometimes we got to be careful of the things we're saying because to them, it sounds a lot like terrorist shit. I'm sorry for cussing, but it does. We can't do anything as Black people because the system that we're under. We have to create a new system. And how do we go about creating a new system? How do we do that? Oh, we know how to do that. We know how to do that. And I feel like the Project 2025 is a lot of fear mongering. Not even just that. A lot of things are pushed on us to put fear in us, to scare us. I'm a Black Indigenous woman. My genealogy traces back all the way up to the 16th century with my people here. I'm not leaving this land here. I'm not about to be pushed off. I'm not about to be scared. There's a lot of things that they have been doing and still doing while y'all over here worried about this. They over here doing this under our noses. They've been doing this for a very long time, and people are so scared. They're full of fear. They don't know what's happening, and that's the whole point. You'll never know what's happening, but it's better for you to be prepared as Black folks. It's no longer a community issue. As a Black individual, what are you doing? What resources do you have? Are you preparing your family? Does your family have an exit plan? Where have you invested your money? What are you doing just in case something was to happen? I'll land my plane. Thank you very much to the host and much love to the listeners down there.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up here to speak tonight. Rella, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter, and definitely thank you to, I think her name was Rich Ass Nurse. And I definitely want to say that the myth of the Black dollar, especially being in economic spaces, if you can tell, I love to do a lot of things. One of the things is read, and I'm a nerd, and I do love fashion and all that other stuff, but the myth of the Black dollar was actually written by a man by name of Brooks Stevens, and it was a book he wrote. It was called A Wealth Building Guide for African Americans, and he was the one that actually put the myth of the Black dollar stays in the community and circulates for only 6 hours. That actually was debunked by some economists. And I can put some articles in the purple pill for anybody that wants to read them. Mogulum also has a copy of some economists actually talking about the evidence has never been proven, but what has been proven is that our businesses and the way we spend our money in our community is not set up so that financially that our money actually circulates to actually yield return on investment type situation. So meaning that other communities are able to, like you were talking about Newstoter, they're able to have businesses that are set up in Black communities, predominantly Black communities, that we are putting our speaks to what Nurse was talking about. We have no much to other places. There has been a rise of Black businesses, Black American businesses to be specific, that we could go to. And I think that we have to make intentional decisions on, how is that going to look for us when we actually decide to maybe cut back on certain things until we can start to build those things. And then where are we going to build those things? Because we want to build them up where they can be protected. That goes back to, Brooklyn's point of, the economic piece and your, point, Newstoter, and addressing how we spend our money and where we're going to spend our money, but how we're going to build things that we know we need in community so that we can spend our money amongst each other. Digital real estate is starting to become a real big thing. A lot of people are leaving out of the retail spaces because of the cost is just too high. We have to start to figure out what our framework is going to look like for the next year or 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and we have to start breaking things down, compartmentalizing them in that way. And I'm not really scared about the government, labeling us as domestic terrorists. They already tried that on Capitol Hill. No longer am I going to be, fearful to talk about the things that were written in history chronologically, some by FBI agents, people who work in government, who also witnessed things, who have written articles or who have written testimonies about stuff that happened that they couldn't speak out on. It's free game at this point. And if, the government wants to come after all of us because we're telling the truth about our American experience or us being in this country, then they're just going to have to do that, because as a collective group, there should be no fear. As an individual, you would be fearful, but I'm not, because eventually we're gonna all turn to dust, and we're gonna all go to whoever you believe in. And as a child of God, I'm gonna tell you right now, my soul and my spirit is saved, so I don't have no fear. And if you ain't gotten to that place in your system, in yourself, I suggest you work on getting there. So I'll end there.
All right. Thank you, Rella. Thank you. I guess we'll get ready to conclude the space on that note. DJ, you want to say something real quick? Okay, DJ may not. Yeah.
Have Joe Biden. There you go, man.
All righty. Well, on that note, thank you to everybody that came out to the space. Thank you, Rella. That was a nice way to go ahead and conclude the space. Thank you to all the speakers, listeners, guys, all our people that supported on YouTube as well, too, guys. We will see you guys. Everybody be safe. Have a good night. Peace.
On the small crack.